This morning, you probably traveled farther before breakfast than most humans could manage in an entire day. You stepped into a vehicle, followed roads, and crossed distances so quickly that you barely noticed them. For most of human history, that kind of movement did not exist. No engines, no highways, no aircraft. And yet humans spread across continents, reached remote islands, and eventually occupied almost every habitable environment on Earth. The strange part isn't that they traveled slowly. It's that they traveled everywhere. So how did a species that could only move at walking speed cross an entire planet? The answer wasn't one invention. They solved it one obstacle at a time. And the first obstacle was the human body itself. The human body seems poorly designed for long-distance travel. We aren't especially fast, and compared with many animals, we are physically vulnerable. But walking reveals a different advantage. Humans can keep moving for remarkably long periods, and our bodies are adapted for efficient movement and cooling during sustained activity. That changed what distance meant. Ancient people didn't need to cross a continent in a single journey. Movement could accumulate slowly, from one water source to the next, from one valley to another, following routes and environmental knowledge learned over generations. A population could expand its range without anyone deciding to make one enormous journey. Step by step, the landscape itself became the route. But there was a boundary walking could not simply solve. A mountain could be crossed. A desert could be crossed with enough preparation. Water was different. Whatever carried some of the earliest travelers across open water has mostly disappeared. The crossing itself has not. Crossing water required more than strong legs. It required knowledge that could be shared. Archaeology cannot show us every craft used by early coastal populations, because materials such as wood rarely survive for hundreds or thousands of years. But archaeological evidence from islands shows that some ancient hominins reached places that required crossing stretches of water. On Flores, for example, archaeological evidence places hominins on the island hundreds of thousands of years ago, while researchers continue to study exactly how those early crossings were accomplished. The important point is not that we know what the first boat looked like. We don't. The important point is that humans and other hominins could somehow turn a barrier into a route. Much later, Polynesian navigators demonstrated just how sophisticated that knowledge could become. They read stars, winds, ocean swells, birds, clouds, and other environmental signals to navigate enormous stretches of ocean. They learned to turn environmental knowledge into a route. But crossing distance was only one problem. How much could they actually carry? Distance was not the only thing limiting ancient travel. Weight was. A person can walk surprisingly far, but carrying food, tools, water, fuel, or materials changes the equation. So instead of asking the human body to carry more, people found ways to make the ground carry the load. Dragging was one simple solution. Sleds and other load-carrying systems reduced the burden of moving heavy objects across suitable terrain. In some environments, animals added another source of power. Dogs could pull loads. Later, people in different regions used animals such as horses for carrying, pulling, and faster movement. But animal power still depended on how efficiently the load moved across the ground. Dragging wastes energy through friction. That created the next problem. Could humans make the load roll instead? The answer was the wheel. It did not appear everywhere at the same time, and it was not simply the final step in one universal technological ladder. But where wheel technology became useful, it changed what animal and human power could accomplish. The problem was no longer simply how strong a traveler was. It was how efficiently that strength could be transferred into movement. The wheel did not suddenly make humans mobile. It completed a much older pattern. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans had been encountering limits and finding ways around them. Walking reduced the problem of distance. Knowledge helped people navigate unfamiliar environments. Watercraft opened routes across barriers that feet could not cross. Dragging and sleds helped move loads. Animals added power. Wheels reduced the energy required to move those loads across suitable ground. Later, roads, ships, railways, engines, aircraft, and modern navigation systems multiplied these abilities on an entirely different scale. But the underlying pattern was already ancient. Each solution attacked a different limit. Humans did not become capable of traveling the world because one invention suddenly changed everything. They kept solving whatever problem stood in front of them. Modern transportation did not create human mobility. It multiplied it. We didn't make distance disappear. We learned step by step how to make it matter less.